William Patrick Hitler, a name carrying the weight of history, was born into a world on the cusp of dramatic change. His arrival occurred in Liverpool, England in 1911, a bustling port city brimming with life and activity. It was a time of relative peace in Europe, a calm before the storm that would soon engulf the continent. He was the son of Alois Hitler Jr., Adolf Hitler's half-brother, a man whose life choices would have profound implications for his son, and Bridget Dowling, a spirited Irish woman who brought a touch of Celtic warmth to the Hitler lineage. Little did she know the darkness that lay ahead for her family. William's early life was ordinary, a typical upbringing in an English household. He experienced the simple joys and challenges of childhood, unaware of the extraordinary destiny that awaited him. It was a life far removed from the chaos brewing in Germany, where political tensions were escalating and extremist ideologies were taking root. The contrast between William's peaceful existence and the turmoil across the Channel couldn't have been starker. However, his father abandoned the family during World War I, leaving a void that would shape William's future. The war cast a long shadow, disrupting families and altering the course of history. This abandonment left William to be raised by his mother, Bridget, a strong and resilient woman who faced the challenges of single parenthood with unwavering determination. He grew up with only distant knowledge of his infamous uncle, a figure who remained largely absent from his life during his formative years. The connection was there, but it was faint, a whisper in the background. Growing up British, immersed in English culture and values, William barely thought about his German relatives. They were a distant branch of the family tree, seemingly irrelevant to his everyday life. That is, until the 1930s, when Adolf Hitler's rise to power began to cast a long and ominous shadow across Europe. It was then that the name Hitler became infamous, synonymous with fear, hatred, and the looming threat of war. Suddenly, William's family connection became a source of intense public curiosity. His life was thrust into the spotlight whether he wanted it or not. It also presented a possible opportunity, a chance to leverage his unique position for personal gain, or perhaps to make a difference in a world teetering on the brink. As Adolf's only English nephew, he was a figure of intrigue, a man caught between two worlds, two identities. William's life was about to change forever, as he was forced to confront his family's dark legacy and forge his own path in the face of unprecedented historical events. In 1933, a pivotal year in German history, as Adolf Hitler rose to power and became chancellor, a new era dawned, filled with both promise and peril. The Nazi Party's influence was rapidly expanding, casting a long shadow over the nation. It was during this time of immense change that William traveled to Germany, drawn by a mixture of ambition and curiosity. He harbored the hope that his prominent surname, a name well known within certain circles, would open doors and pave the way for opportunities. And indeed, it seemed to work. He successfully landed a job at the prestigious Reich Credit Bank, a significant step in his career. He found himself enjoying certain privileges that came with his position and family connections, and he frequently mingled with the Nazi elites, attending exclusive social gatherings and becoming acquainted with influential figures within the regime. But beneath the surface of this seemingly glamorous life, his uncle harbored a deep distrust of him, questioning his motives and loyalty. This distrust manifested in subtle ways, eventually leading to his uncle pressuring William to renounce his British citizenship, a demand that carried significant implications. It was a demand William vehemently resisted, unwilling to sever his ties to his homeland. As time went on, William began to realize that he was being treated more as a pawn in a larger game than as a member of the family, carefully kept at arm's length, never fully embraced or trusted. He was constantly under scrutiny, his every move watched and analyzed. His jobs, despite their prestigious titles, felt hollow and unfulfilling, lacking any real purpose or meaning. And his uncle's suspicion only continued to grow, casting a dark cloud over their already strained relationship. The atmosphere was thick with tension, marked by constant manipulation, veiled threats, and an underlying sense of deep mistrust. William came to the stark realization that he was never truly considered part of the Nazi inner circle, merely a curiosity, an outsider whose presence was tolerated but never fully accepted. He was always watched, his every action scrutinized, a constant reminder of his precarious position within the Nazi regime. Life in Nazi Germany became a trap for William. His name brought both privilege and suspicion. The Gestapo monitored him constantly. Adolf Hitler demanded total loyalty, but William refused to give up his British identity. deepening the rift. Desperate, William tried to leverage his position, even threatening to expose family secrets. This only fueled his uncle's paranoia. By 1938, as Germany marched toward war and repression intensified, William realized he had to escape. The privilege he sought had become a nightmare. Now survival was all that mattered. In 1939, William fled Germany, returning to London and publicly denouncing his uncle in a magazine article. He and his mother soon sailed to America, just as war erupted in Europe. Stranded in New York, they tried to live quietly, but the Hitler name brought constant suspicion. William struggled to find work and acceptance, haunted by his family legacy. As the U.S. entered World War II, William felt compelled to act. He wanted to prove his loyalty to his new home, and fight against everything his uncle stood for. So William made a bold decision to join the U.S. military. In 1942, with the world engulfed in war, William Hitler found himself at a crossroads. Despite his lineage, he felt a deep sense of duty to the Allied cause. He made the bold decision to write directly to President Roosevelt, asking to enlist in the U.S. military and fight against his own family's regime. Naturally, his request triggered an extensive and highly sensitive background investigation. The authorities needed to be absolutely certain of his motives and loyalty. After a thorough investigation that scrutinized every aspect of his life, he was cleared and joined the Navy in 1944 as a pharmacist's mate. He served honorably in the Pacific Theater, facing the horrors of war firsthand. He was wounded in action, bravely tending to his fellow sailors amidst the chaos. For his courage and sacrifice, he received the Purple Heart, a testament to his commitment to his adopted country. While his uncle, Adolf Hitler, waged a brutal and devastating war across Europe, William was actively saving lives on the Allied side, a stark contrast to the destruction and death his uncle was causing. This was more than just service. It was a powerful act of defiance against his own bloodline and the tyranny it represented. After the war's end, seeking to distance himself even further from his past, William made the legal decision to change his name to Stuart Houston. He married, started a family, and deliberately built a quiet, unassuming life in Long Island, New York. He consciously chose to live in anonymity, and he never spoke publicly about his infamous uncle or the burden of his family history again. William Patrick Hitler, now William Stuart Houston, had finally, painstakingly escaped the long shadow of his past, forging a new identity and building a peaceful, all-American suburban life far removed from the horrors and infamy of his lineage. His story remains a remarkable and complex tale of rebellion against one's own family, survival against incredible odds, and ultimately, the enduring human search for redemption and a chance at a normal life.